We are in a sermon series called What is Westminster? This is building up to be our stewardship sermon series, and one of the traditions of Westminster is to have testimonies every week leading up to Stewardship Sunday. And so I am so thrilled to introduce you this morning, the man who needs no introduction. This is Meech Flores and his amazing helper's aid.
Hello. Go to mom, please. So as we get into our sermon series, Meredith asked us, or asked me to kind of talk about the question, why do you commit your prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness to Westminster? So in order for us to do that, we got to kind of, I see a lot of familiar faces, but there's a lot of new faces since we actually became members of the church. So we'll go back with kind of why we got here 4 years ago. So Corey and I have been married for over almost 12 years, and we've come from different faiths. She came from a Catholic background, I came from a Baptist background. And as we were trying to kind of build our family, one of the things that we've decided is God and kind of building or raising our kids in the church was a cornerstone of what we wanted as part of our family. So we went through kind of a bunch of different churches that we visited, right, to try to fit some of the categories that we were looking for, right? And those are kind of important to us. One is we needed a church that would be able to fit both of our different needs. So if anybody knows Corey or anybody knows Meech, we got some points of view that are a little different, right? And kind of it comes with our background. The second piece is we needed a place to feel comfortable for our children, as you can tell, right? And also comfortable in regards to how people would minister to our children and the messages that they would leave. Since we both had good and bad experiences in regards to kind of what that felt like as children, we were trying to find a safe spot or a safe place. Fourth is we were looking for a church that allowed us to be ourselves. That has to do with openness, the ability to be respectful, care for the people no matter what the different points of view you may have and conversations that you have, but have a common bond of God, trust, and love. And finally, and the most important was, we both came from different spiritual paths and journeys. You know, just not one far along than the other, but I came from a Baptist piece, and kind of when you say a definition of witness, that's a whole different word, and Corey came from a Catholic background, and kind of Bible school and Bible study was something that really wasn't invested heavily, right, in regards to how she grew up. So those were kind of our 4 key points. And so, you know, we happily, either Westminster found us or there was a little crazy combination of both, right? Our first step in kind of that journey was we moved into the neighborhood and we found Westminster Day School. So kind of we were searching for a school to send Elliot to, and I think she did all the visits because she's better at that than I will ever be. And I think we visited 6, 8 schools, right? And kind of decided that, you know, Westminster had not only the type of outreach, but or the day school had the type of kind of biblical learning for our children, the type of caring that we would want for our child, our first child, of course, right? Everybody has a special first child, that experience to be a little bit more nurturing or kind of softer, right? I mean, let's be honest, you know, second one, poor Zaid. But that was important to us. And then we were also pretty fortunate we've had the Kellys for friends for a long time. And Corey and Kristen have been friends since childhood. I mean, I can't remember a conversation without Kristen when it comes to growing up and talking about Klein. But the beauty of it is when I said the word minister, or kind of the word that I used was witness. Kristen was a witness in the way that I think Westminster witnessed to me and a bunch of us, right? It's not very forward. It's caring about the person. It's caring about kind of what's happening and what's going on in their lives, and saying, hey, you know what? I got a cool little spot. You may want to come take a look. And I will be honest with you, I don't think I knew Kristen went to Westminster until a couple of weeks before we came, right? Which is kind of a testament to not only her but the church in regards to kind of how they draw their members. The other thing that we wanted is we wanted to make sure that we were comfortable. So I think we were a long journey to become members. I think we were here for a year to a year and a half until we decided. We started with Jeff and then became members when shortly after Meredith actually became our pastor. And through that, we got to kind of validate one of those pieces that were important to us. We got to speak either at dinner or our little biblical studies or just kind of the pumpkin patch or all our outreach to a bunch of you. It kind of validated that openness, right? And that kind of that concern that sometimes comes when you're becoming a member of a church. I come from a small town, so small churches for me always have a special place in my heart, just because, you know, we can be more impactful and kind of we know each other and know their children and kind of the things that they need for support. So, and of course, the other thing was our kids, right? So the things that they learned at the day school, but more importantly in these children lessons, like you probably heard Elliot about bobber and fishing. I could just hear him just going. Are unique and special, right? It's a different conversation that you can have with your children. And so, for instance, I took Elliot fishing for his 6th birthday party. When he was turning 6 years old. We're on a pier, we're fishing. He sits up on a bench and he just looks at me and he says, "Dad, I miss Pops." So, for you guys that don't know, Pops is Corey's grandfather that Elliot met 4 times and passed away during COVID, right? So, his comment was, "I wish I got to see him more." And I just asked a simple question of, "So where do you think he is?" And he just looked up and it's like, "I know he's in heaven," right? And I go, "Well, what does that mean?" It's like, that means he's looking down on me. That means he's always with us and he's in our heart. And I almost wanted to ask a follow-up question, but I just dropped it there, right? But that's the kind of thing is kind of we're envisioning what we wanted in a church and what we wanted our kids to learn for kind of these foundational principles. Those have come out just tremendously over the last few years. And so as I reflect on kind of what we were searching for and what we actually got, right? And I look back over these last very crazy, weird 18 to 24 months, COVID, all the impacts that all of us have had directly, indirectly with COVID, as well as all the other things that were happening in the world. And some of these things today, when you ask why are we still here and why do we minister, still ring true to us. One, right? It's our biblical learning, right? Corey and I wanted a biblical learning that had a sermon series that was based on the Bible. That was, for me, a very simple equation, A + B = C. And Meredith, as well as the rest of our ministries, do a very, very good job of being able to do that. So for us, it checks our box, right? The other thing is our church community. It's you guys. It's whether you've been here for a while or you're new, there seems to be a common DNA, right, that kind of spans across everybody that's a Westminster member or a Westminster visitor. And for us, that's heartwarming and welcoming and open and always happy and a smile on your face. And that's a uniqueness. And we get to see that because we are a small church. The third thing, I think, is our strong commitment to ministries. Whether it's the children's ministry that we talked about, it's our music ministry, which the team, the band has done such a great job trying to keep it fresh for us, right? When we talk about the different songs and the different things that Meredith challenges them to do. And then most importantly, kind of I think our core has always been our community outreach. Whether it's the pumpkin patch or whether it's going to be what we do with day school or Tanglewood or our food programs. The one thing I find amazing is we're a very, very small church. But once we decide that we want to do something together because it's what we think that our church needs to do because it's a calling from God or it's kind of one of our ministries, we come together like no other and we get it done. I didn't know that I'd be unloading another 2,500 pumpkins today, but guess what? We're going to do another 2,500 pumpkins today, right? So, and so it's kind of, as I talk to my friends or kind of I I move forward and kind of, try to be the living example as Kristen was, and so many of you are, in regards to kind of how we live that faith, how we live that how we live that in our lives and expose that to people. Those are the key things that I think, like I said, we wanted, we got, and we're made true, and we see it today. So that's thank you for letting me share. That's all I have.